I, 27-year-old male, have a condition which causes me to overproduce earwax. I don't tell people about it because I was bullied for it growing up. Only my wife and parents know. Every other day, I have to put medication in each ear, let it sit, then flush it out with a rubber-tipped syringe. This prevents ear infections, vertigo, permanent hearing loss, and worsening of my tinnitus. I have dealt with all of these things to some extent, so I stay on top of my eardrop regimen. If my alarm goes off when I'm with others, I go to the bathroom for 20 minutes and knock it out. If I don't follow my schedule I forget, so I can't put it off. 2 weeks ago, my mom hosted family dinner. My cousin Kara, 37-year-old female, saw me waltz off to the bathroom to do my thing, syringe in hand, and asked what I was doing. I said just a minor medical thing. She kept pushing, but I didn't want to say anything because she gossips. I told her it's personal and scooted past. When I left, she was standing in the hallway. She asked what took so long and why the toilet didn't flush. I said none of her business. She said she didn't mean to offend. Last weekend, my friend called me to invite me out to lunch with some buddies. He said to meet up at his house so we wouldn't have to drive separately. I arrive at his house to find Kara and my friend sitting solemnly on the couch. Kara said they were here to talk about my problem and that they just wanted to help. I said there is no problem. Suddenly it clicked in my head what this was about. I couldn't help but laugh a little bit out of shock. She asked what was so funny, and I said first of all why didn't you talk to my wife or my parents? She said she didn't want to involve my enablers, which just made me laugh harder. She looked annoyed and said she was done trying to help. I said that's all right by me. She stormed out. I explained to my friends. They knew I have a condition but never pressed me on it. I guess when Kara approached them they thought I was lying. Obviously, I'd rather they know than worry about me being an addict when I'm not. I thanked them for their support anyways. Kara had apparently reached all of my friends through my social media. We all got a good hearty laugh out of it, which Kara must have heard because she was, of course, eavesdropping. She burst back in and told me to tell them the truth, to which I said I did. My friend kicked her out. We went for lunch and I thought that was that. My mom called me yesterday and told me she had talked to Kara about the whole thing and explained. She said Kara was very upset with me and essentially called me an asshole for not explaining, and laughing in her face and embarrassing her. I said I was embarrassed and that Kara had no right to my info. I think she shouldn't go around snooping and making assumptions. My mom still thinks I should apologize. ETA, she didn't see my alarm go off, just ran into me on her way from the kitchen. My alarm isn't for dinner time, it's for 9:15 p.m. I do it at home most of the time. Edit, broke up the wall of text. Sorry about that. My daughter 17 asked me to post this here. And I'm the dad who does as the women in my life tell me, which is how I ended up in a restaurant tonight with snobs. So the characters, my wife, wife's coworker 1 and her husband arrogant engineer 1, AE1, wife's coworker 2 and her husband my CPA, and lastly AE2 and his wife. Each couple has 2 teenage children with us. We are at a Japanese steakhouse in America where the chefs cook in front of you. CW1 and AE1 invited all of us for their youngest daughter's birthday. Since their daughter is close with our daughter. So the parents are at one table and the teens at another. At the teen table my daughters, 17 and 14, order sushi appetizers, mocktails, and shrimp with scallops. At our table the sake is flowing along with a few top-shelf drinks. My wife and I order our appetizers, drinks, and dinners. We are all paying for ourselves and I see AE1 and AE2 seem to in competition for who can spend the most. My CPA and I chuckle at them and stay out of the fray. Until AE2 hears my daughter order and says to her, "Careful now, your daddy is only an agricultural engineer. He doesn't make as much as us real engineers." For context, they are structural engineers with bachelor degrees. I'm an agricultural engineer with a PhD. I work for governments, private investors, and several agro corporations. I own my own consulting firm. I help build sustainable reusable gardens. And this work allows me to travel to poorer countries and help them use what they have to start growing their own food. Apparently these men thought all I did was travel to impoverished places and teach people to dig in the dirt. They believed I did all this work for free and therefore made very little money. I'm not rich by any stretch, but I'm comfortable. We don't do extravagance, so we have savings and my wife works. However, in 2023 I was awarded a handsome contract to design tower gardens in several states. It's a 7-figure contract over 3 years. Back to dinner. These guys ask me about the most ridiculous things. Like, is it good to grow onions and carrots in the same garden? And were laughing at me and my work until their wives told them to stop. I chalk it up to drunken arrogance and don't even bother to answer. My CPA was laughing so hard he almost fell out of his chair. Apparently, he is AE1 CPA as well. And knows the ins and outs of both our finances. AE1 taunts CPA to tell the table what he brought home last year after bonuses. CPA pulled up the figures on the phone and tells us. It's about 1/3 of what I brought home in 2023. The CPA says, I have yours up, want me to share? I decline. And he nods. Another round of taunts. I go to the restroom and find the waiter. I pay for the whole check and leave a generous tip on top of what they added for a big party. After our sobert, the waiter thanks me in front of everyone for the tip and wishes everyone a good night. AE1 and AE2 stare at me for a moment. I smile, nod and tell CPA to tell them my income last year. After which I simply said good night. Petty, absolutely, gratifying, damn right. My sister was diagnosed with cancer last year. It has been hard on our family and even harder on her. I love my sister and I tried to be there for her as best as I could. I also did everything I could to make things easier for my parents. I took over all chores, cooked every day, cleaned the house, did laundry, took care of my younger sibling and babysat them more. Luckily she is doing really well and has recently finished her treatment, which is great, and we are all grateful. Our birthdays are 2 weeks apart and hers was 2 weeks ago. My parents bought her a new car to celebrate after everything she went through, which I understand, she does deserve it, but I was a bit surprised because I thought they didn't have any money. My dad has been unwilling to help me get a used car since last year, telling me that they do not have the money. I didn't even want him to pay for all of it. I have been saving up and just wanted them to help me with the rest, but he kept telling me that they have no money for that. Well, my birthday just rolled around and my parents bought me a book that I mentioned in passing and a $25 takeout gift card to a place I like. I thanked them, but they saw that I wasn't too thrilled and asked me what was wrong. I told them that while I appreciate the gifts, I thought that they were finally going to help me with the remaining $800 for buying the used car, seeing that they could now afford a new car for my sister. But that's when they accused me of being jealous of my sister, who had just gone through something very traumatic, and that I was trying to make everything about me and why I couldn't just be happy for her. They said that at the end of the day I have a job and could just continue saving. Am I the asshole? As the title says, really. Using a throwaway because my main can be identified. My 25-year-old female parents and I are really close emotionally, but not geographically. They live abroad and I see them a couple times a year, but we speak pretty much every day. A few months ago, I started getting some weird symptoms, unexplained weight loss, fatigue, abdo pain, etc., and went to the doctor, who referred me for more tests. Because I didn't want to worry my parents before we knew it was anything to worry about, my partner, 27-year-old male, together 10 years, and I kept it to ourselves. Many tests later, including some very uncomfortable scans and a biopsy, and it turns out that I have incurable bowel cancer and have a year or so at most. Which sucks. No one knows yet except my partner, but I need and want to tell my parents so that it's not a complete shock to them when I see them in a few months. I'm due to visit in November and I really need that visit to be as happy as it can be, and also because I need them. How the hell do I approach this conversation? It doesn't feel like something I can just drop into a phone call, but the thought of flying out to them to tell them in person is pretty daunting. Also, for my partner's sake, I want to tell them soon, because aside from me he's the only one who knows. Didn't want a well-meaning relative from his side posting something on social media or any risk of my family hearing it from anyone else. And this is really hard on him. He needs someone other than me he can talk to about it. Any advice would be so welcome. Thank you. Background: I've known my husband since high school. We met again abroad, where we both studied and worked, and met for lunch years later and then started dating. We have been together for 5 years, 2 years married. We decided to move back to our home, where we are both from, country, once I found out I was pregnant. I am an international adoptee from South Asia. We're both citizens of Northern Europe. My husband is white with blonde hair and blue eyes. I have South Asian features. Our child was born 2 years ago. The twist. So my husband told me on NYE that he doesn't feel a connection to our child at all. I asked him how and why, and he complained it was because of her appearance. That she has more dominant features from me, i.e. dark eyes and darker hair. I swear every single friend/family member from my side has said our child looks exactly like my husband. She even has very light brown hair, not that it matters to me, but just brown eyes. He told me that he wants a family member that looks like him with blonde hair and blue eyes. I asked him if he was open to adoption, because I am. He said no, he wants to see his own features in the child. We went back and forth until he told me he wants to use an egg donor to conceive blonde hair, blue eyes and his genes. My first reaction was WTF. I told him that's really insulting, and how the hell can he say that about his own child, and why didn't he think about this earlier before he married and had kids with me? I just bluntly told him we've all seen the eye charts in biology class in school, usually brown eyes dominate. Why did he spew this all out now 1.5 years after the birth of our child? We've been going back and forth in arguments, and he always brings this topic in an argument and give me the ultimatum of divorcing or accepting him to proceed with the white egg donor/surrogate. I have tried hashing this out in therapy with an open mind because I have genuine questions. How do you think our current child would feel about the truth? How do you think the new egg donor child would feel about the truth? What do you think others will say about this? I have discovered that many of these opinions have been formed from comments from friends/family members that have received our child as an immigrant. My questions is, what's wrong with that, and what does it even matter? He also said that he would like the egg donor child to have personality traits similar to him. I.e. analytical, quiet, nature lover, etc. I personally don't think you can dictate/impact another human's personality. Moreover, it's not a great reason to have children. I have told both his parents and they've tried to talk to him. He is very adamant that this child will be the answer to his negative feelings about his family. My opinion. It's very insulting. If he's got microaggressions he wants to discuss, why hasn't he come to me? I'd hoped that the one person who accepts me as myself in my adoptive country would be my husband. But frankly, it does not feel like the case here. I feel like the conflict of being foreign is being passed on to my child now, and sadly by the other person who should love and accept her the most, the other parent. I personally have tried to be open to the thought, but just the principle of reasons why he wants to go ahead with this are incredibly shallow, superficial, and racist. I'm at the point of considering filing for divorce. It's not going anywhere. Curious to hear your perspectives. TIA